What's up, y'all? It's your boy Rick, aka the People's Barber, and welcome to another edition of Flawless Fridays. Today we're going to be doing a bald fade with the hard part and cutting the hair on top while only using clippers. So to start, we're going to be using my Wahl Cordless Magic Clips, my Wahl balding clippers, my Wahl Detailers, and to give it that flawless look, we're going to be using our Flawless Exposed Razor. Let's go. All right, guys, first things first, we got to get the guide in. We'll start with our Wahl balding clippers. Now that we have the guide complete, we'll go ahead and start the blend. My client likes this side with an undercut to where a disconnect to where this fade is not connected to the hair up top. However, the other side, we do blend into the fade. So we'll start by knocking down all this area right here with the number 2 guard. Using my cordless magic clips, I pop my number 2 guard on, close my lever, making it a true number two to cut all this off. Now that we have that complete with the number 2, we'll go ahead and begin the blend. To start, still using my cordless magic clips, close my lever, making it a true 0. Now I'll open up that lever, making it a half. Now I'm going to grab my number 1 guard, close that lever, making it a true number 1. Continuing the blend. Now I'm going to open up the lever to a 1.5 and finalize the blend into the number 2 we did right here up top. Now I'll begin to buff the area out, opening and closing my lever with the number 1 guard where I feel needed to make the blend as flawless as possible. Now with my half guard, opening and closing my lever, still buffing out any lines of demarcation. Now we'll be using just the blade, opening and closing, to remove our last and final line. And that's it, guys. We'll move on to section 2 now. All right, now we'll begin section 2. Similar steps to section 1. I'm going to start with my number 2 guard, close lever to remove the bulk. Now that we remove the bulk right here, we'll begin the blend right here at the bottom. Starting with my cordless magic clips, close my lever to a true 0. Now that the 0 is complete, I'll open up my lever to a half. Now popping my number 1 guard on, closing my lever, making it a true number 1. And then opening it up to a 1.5. Now still with my number 1 guard on, I'm going to open and close that lever to blend in any lines of demarcation. Same process of buffing, except I've got my half guard on. Opening and close my lever. Now with just my blade, opening and closing that lever. Section 2 is now complete. Let's move on to section 3. All right, guys, now we're going to start section 3. Notice on section 3, the top of the hair is actually blended into the fade. So we've got a disconnect on section 1 and section 2, but section 3, we do have it blended. So it's going to change our technique just a little bit. So to start, we're still going to start with my cordless magic clips, close my lever to a true 0, and get this blended. Now we're going to open up to a half. Now I popped on my number 1 guard, closing my lever, making it a true number 1. So here's the part where we're going to change it up a little. Instead of opening my lever to a 1.5 and continuing the blend, what we're gonna do is what's called a clipper over comb. I'm gonna comb the hair down. I'm gonna make sure my comb is at a 90-degree angle, like so or like so, never parallel to the ground. Once I have that complete, then I'm gonna close my lever with my number 1 guard on and clipper over comb this hair to remove a lot of the bulk. Now that we've got it blended pretty well right here, we'll continue this blend right here to connect to the top of the hair. We'll go back to the number 1, opening up the lever, making it a true 1.5 to continue the blend. Now I'll grab my number 2 guard, close my lever, making it a true 2.5, continue the blend. Now, very similar to the opposite side, grab my number 1 guard, opening and closing my lever to buff out any lines of demarcation. Now with my half guard, opening and closing the lever to continue to buff. Now this hair right here that you see that's still not blended into the fade, we're going to cut that whenever we cut the top of the hair here in a minute. So let's get to it. Alright, now we're going to trim the top of the hair. The unique thing about my haircuts is I don't use shears often. So to trim the top, I'm actually going to use my cordless Sterling 4. I am going to damp the hair a little, comb it in the direction that my client normally combs it in, and cut it like that, like so. Using my comb and my clipper, holding them in one hand just like you would your shear and your comb. Turning my clipper on, then upside down facing me. Holding the hair just as if I were using shears, but cutting with my cordless Sterling 4s. Why my cordless Sterling 4s? Because they have a standard blade and they're cordless, which makes it a lot easier to cut the top of the hair without having to fumbling around with the cord. Now what I want to do is I want to add some texture to my client's hair to give it a fuller look. By doing so, I will point cut using just the corner of my blade, grabbing random sections throughout his hair and give some texture to it. Now that we've trimmed the top of the hair, one of our next steps is to line up the beard. Alright guys, now we're going to line up the beard with my Wahl Detailers, making sure not to forget about the area between the ear and the beard, and then we'll come right here in the front area. Keeping the beard area between the ear and the beard as natural as possible. So now that we have this area complete, my next step is to line up this area right here to get it as nice, clean arch as possible. To do so, I'll turn my trimmer, my detailer, upside down so I can see exactly what I'm doing. I personally like to start at the top and work my way down, keeping it as nice and full as possible. And you don't have to make this real precise or perfect, because we'll come back and line it up with my flawless exposed razor to get the full detail. Now that we have the beard lined up, my next step is to blend the beard into the bald fade. To do so, I'm going to start with my number 1, close my lever, open my lever to a 1.5 to blend a little lower. Then open and close my lever to continue the blend. Now with just my half guard, opening and closing my lever to continue the blend. Now that I like the way the blend is looking, we'll continue on the opposite side. All right, we want to continue the same process on the opposite side of the beard, starting with the area between the ear and the beard first, keeping it as natural as possible. And now we'll line this area up, still using my Wahl Detailers. Now we'll start this blend. Now to blend this, number 1 guard, close lever, open up to a 1.5, go just a tad bit lower, opening and closing my lever, grabbing my half guard, continuing the blend to buff out any lines of demarcation. Now with just my blade. And the blended beard lineup is complete. Now to remove the bulk. Now to remove the bulk, I'm going to be using my Wahl Detailers. So now we'll edge up the front area, put in the hard part, and finalize with our flawless exposed razor to line up the beard. All right, starting the edge up, keeping it as natural as possible. Now to etch in the hard part. We're going to be turning our detailer upside down and making the line as straight and precise as possible. Now let's edge up the opposite side. Now we'll edging up the opposite side, keeping it once again as natural as possible. All right, now we're going to begin the edge up and the beard detail using my flawless exposed razor. After you've applied some shave gel of your preference, glide your razor over your client's face to the desired area of where your client would like the beard shaped up to. Now let's do the same thing on the opposite side. Now starting the opposite side, once again, after you've applied your shave gel of preference, allow your blade to glide over your client's skin to the desired location of the outline. All right, now to finalize the haircut, I'm going to use the Flawless Pomade. Rub it in my hands before I apply it to my client's hair. After I apply it, I just comb the hair in the direction desired. And that's it, guys. Thank you for tuning in to this week's Flawless Fridays. Make sure to follow your boy on Instagram at The People's Barber and Facebook at Rick The People's Barber. Appreciate you.